from active stocks being pointed out by our researchers to one stock or one space that has been really active in the last few sessions, and that is the aviation pact. And we thought we'll get a word from the aviation companies and start off really with Sanjay Aggarwal, CEO of SpiceJet, who will join us on the line from Delhi. Do we have Mr. Aggarwal on the line? All right, I think we will have Mr. Aggarwal. We do have Mr. Aggarwal on the line from Delhi. Mr. Aggarwal, many thanks for joining in. SpiceJet really as a company has been in a better shape financially amongst compared to its peers as well, gaining market share over the last 12 months. What to your mind would be the likely market share of SpiceJet going ahead in 2010?
So the market share is a function of how much capacity we deploy. And based on the capacity that we have in the market and our plans for the next 12 months, I don't think the market share would grow significantly because the other carriers continue to gain capacity or continue to add capacity at a greater pace than SpiceJet. So while we continue to improve our load factor and we'll be able to preserve the market share, but we think the market share until we add more capacity, which starts happening in February, would remain around the 13%, 12.5-13% level. And that's where we expect it to be for the next 12 months or so, in the 13 to 15% range.
Well, we've seen the tourism environment actually pick up now. Tourist travel has also gone up, as has business travel. How do you expect the next 3 months to pan out?
I'm sure you are looking at the same statistics that we are, that the demand has never been stronger. Right now, the demand, what we are seeing in December is probably the best December or the best month ever in India when it comes to passenger traffic. So the demand is. The yields are, I would say, fairly good. I would say they have stabilized for the last 3 or 4 months since mid-September. And the demand for January is looking pretty robust. So we think the worst for the aviation industry is behind us. And my comment is based on the demand trends that we have seen in the last 6 months, not only a month or two. And what has happened in the last 3 months, as a matter of fact, when you look at October, November, December, the demand has actually exceeded the 2007 levels, which means now we can probably be optimistic and think this growth trend will continue. And when it comes to tourism, generally there is very little discretionary travel happening in the first quarter, especially February and March in India. So I don't see much tourism happening in the next 3-4. I'm talking about the domestic tourism. Of course, there might be foreign travel happening to India, but we see the tourism historically pick up again in the months of May. After the schools close and people start taking vacations.
Does it mean, Mr. Aggarwal, that we could probably see further rate hikes in January?
It's a combination. At the end of the day, airlines are looking for how much revenue we need to generate on a per departure basis to cover our costs, and it's a combination of yield and a combination of load factor. So we think that we have reached a good equilibrium between the pricing and loads. And I don't think right now there is a significant pressure on us or need for us to raise fares. At the end of the day, the value proposition low-fare airlines offer is low fares or best value for your money. So we think the levels where the fares are right now is a good value for money for the travelers. And the only reason we think the fares might go up would be if the fuel was to go up significantly, not the fuel prices. But right now at the current, if nothing else changes in the environment, we think fares are pretty good. And we don't anticipate any major increase.
So that would be my next question. And what's your sense on crude prices, where are they headed? And do you think that SpiceJet would like to hedge some of its fuel requirements?
Sure, we do hedge fuel. Last year we did hedge a certain percentage of our fuel requirement, and we are looking at hedging our next year's fuel requirements. When I talk about next year, I'm talking about fiscal year 2010-11. So we do from time to time look at opportunities to hedge, and we are currently hedged, and we are looking at hedging for the next year.
Mr. Aggarwal, we've seen a couple of other airline companies, Jet Airways, the likes, raising funds, repaying debt. How has the situation been for airline companies in terms of fundraising? Has it seen an improvement at all?
See, it's hard for me to tell how the private equity houses or large investment or the mutual funds would react to the fundraising. However, what we have seen over the last few months is we have seen investor confidence coming back into the airline stocks. So if you look at the the three companies that are publicly traded, SpiceJet, Jet Airways, and Kingfisher, the stock prices for all the three airlines have moved up, or have seen significant run up. So that gives us the sense that people are beginning to once again believe in the future of aviation in India, and they think the growth is coming back to the industry, and they see a bright future. So I can see on the retail side that the investor confidence is coming back, but it's hard for me to tell until someone goes out and tests the waters to see how the private equity houses or the mutual funds would respond.
Well, away from private equity, there have been a lot of brokerage upgrades on global aviation, and Indian aviation is included in there. So do you think if the positive trend we've seen for aviation keeps to continue, that we will actually see Indian Airlines post a profit in the coming quarters? That will certainly be good news.
Indian carriers posting profit is a function of the economic environment to a large extent, right? Fuel prices remaining stable, demand remaining strong, the demand-supply gap remaining at acceptable levels, because that gap pretty much decides the yields, right? So I think it depends on a lot of those conditions. However, based on what we are seeing, we think the next few years will be good for the aviation industry in India. And aviation growth is always tied to the GDP growth, and the Indian economy is expected to grow anywhere between 8 to 10% for the next 3 to 5 years, which I think will be a good sign for Indian aviation.
All right, time now to take a look at the top headlines that we're focusing on the channel right from the word go in today's session.